then they had to pull the tube out of your guts, which is a crazy experience, that shit. And because it'd been in there longer, it started like knitting to the fucking, to whatever else in there. And so when they pulled it, like, I had my old man film it and shit, and it was like literally, like, it's just a crazy experience, man.
And you're awake all the way through that, obviously, like.
Yeah. So awake with all that, man. And then, man, it was just fucking good to be knowing it was done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
My mum and dad was happy. Then we went and seen my family in Geelong, and I just remember Dad and I saying, we're so grateful, done and all this shit. Went and got the final check-up on the Tuesday and fly home, hopefully the Wednesday or Thursday. When they were doing the echo and all that, I fucking realised something wasn't right. But then the surgeon come in, then I had to have the meeting with me professor after it, and they said that, look, it hasn't worked.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Tonksy Media podcast. As promised, I'll be talking with people from all different walks of life that will be presenting to you nothing less than an interesting life story, no matter what it might be. I'm not only excited, but very honoured to have this next guest on here with me today. This absolute legend of a bloke has been a good mate of mine for the best part of 15 years. He was born with a terminal heart condition and has already suffered 3 open heart surgeries in the short 30-odd years of his life here on Earth. He's lost some very close people to him along the way, which has led him to some rock-bottom moments, resulting in alcohol and prescription med abuse. Meanwhile, somehow managing to build a very well-known and successful tattoo business that goes by the name of Ink Slave Tattoos and is based in the northern suburbs of Hobart, Tasmania. He's a very proud husband and father of 3 beautiful children and an absolute inspiration to so many people. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Mr. Glenn Pate. How are you, my bro?
Good, brother. How are you, man?
Good, man. Good. Good to have you on, brother.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for the invite, bro.
No worries, bro.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Be exciting.
Fuck yeah, bro. We're going to
see what we come up with, eh?
100%, bro. We're going to do our best to paint a picture of your life, bro. You ready for it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'll do my best, that's for sure.
All right, my bro.
Go for it, eh?
All right, let's start off, bro. Where were you born and where'd you grow up?
All right. I was born in Geelong in 1985, 1st of the 2nd. Shortly after I was born, I was moved to the Royal Melbourne Children's Hospital. I stayed there for the first 3 months of my life.
Yep.
Sorry, man. So then from there, we stayed in Geelong, I think. I was about 2 years old.
Yep.
My mum and dad made the decision to move to Tasmania, when I was around 2 or 3, I think. Yep. We then got a housing commission in Gageford. I think we were there for around 8 months.
I'll gauge you,
moved to Glenorchy. I'll gauge you, right?
Oh, yeah. Mate, I spent few of my infant years there as well, brother.
Yeah, makes you more colourful, doesn't it?
100%.
Yeah. So I went from there I was in Glenorchy, I think, lived in Glenorchy for maybe 6 months, and then finally moved to Chigwell when I was 4 or 5 years old, man, and I've stayed in Chiggers ever since, bro.
70-11 represent, my friend.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Where did you go to school, brother?
School? Started off at North Chigwell Primary School, which was all right because it was only literally a minute from my house, man. From there, I did all right in primary school, I was a bit of I was pretty good in primary school. Probably shy kind of kid, around the teachers, acting all nice and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
But as I got a little bit older, started running a little bit of a muck. But no, I left primary school, decent grades, I guess, most I could do.
Yep.
And then I went to Cosgrove High School, man, in 97.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah, and then, I went there. I don't know, something switched in me around that time because, I was a bit of a shit, I ended up getting asked to remove myself from Cosgrove. I won't say expelled. I was asked to, probably find another school.
Yeah.
So from there, that would have been, halfway through grade 8. And I wanted to go to Rosetta High. They wouldn't accept me. And then I ended up going to Claremont High towards the end of 98.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't finish school. And I left school maybe 3/4 through grade 9.
Yep.
Due some life sort of changes, all that sort of stuff, and I wasn't doing well in high school. And then I ended up going back. I put myself back into high school in grade 10. So sort of, halfway through the year 10, I made an agreement with the president, president of Claremont, who we thought he was.
Yep.
No, but in honesty, like with the principal and all that
can I just ask,
3 days a week at school. Yeah, man, go.
Can I just ask, was that Mr. Rigby, the principal at Claremont High School?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, he was my
But
principal.
he ended up, was he? Yeah. Because what would you? He was probably a few years younger than me.
Yeah, 4 or 5, bro. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was my issue because I didn't even know teachers and shit. Like it was because I was in the Mars program. Remember the Mars program? It was
vaguely. Yeah.
like that, just the troubled sort of kid sort of stuff. So I was talking to that teacher. I can't remember who he is now, but and he said if I come up with an agreement, come 3 days a week and start at 11 o'clock, I'll pretty much make to the end and be able to go to leavers dinner.
Yeah.
Because that year, the American Pie come out, the movie, and fuck, that leavers dinner looked so good, man. And a lot of my mates as well were doing a lot of like, I was missing that social life. So I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. And I was literally going to class, just with a fucking pad book, man, piece of paper up, My end of year reports were like, I can't report on Glenn because I don't know who he is,
Yeah, yep.
But I was a high school dropout, man. Didn't have much of a future ahead of me,
Yeah.
But
well, you soon prove yourself wrong there, brother.
Yeah, cheers, man. I think, I learnt more maybe, because I'm probably smart in the better of the life sort of situations, or life smart than fucking, textbook sort of shit, I don't worry about that. I just sort of more, just life smart, man.
Righto, so you weren't much of a school kid, obviously, bro. So what was your interests out of school then? I know you was I've got to say this. I'd never tell you to your face, but I've got to say, bro, you motocross. I remember you was riding a motocross, as was I as a kid, bro. I fucking idolised you, bro. I was like, I remember before I met you, and then I thought, look at this cunt. I used to collect the Freerider MX magazine every week, bro. You'd get your DVD once a month. Fucking, I'd heard of you and stuff, through the Lipscombs and shit like that, and then next thing I'm flicking through the Freerider MX magazine, and I see this fucking bloke from my hometown. Go into that a little bit, brother.
Yeah, about that. So as we'll get along, more in the story of this pod, but I used to race, dirt bikes. Started off with grass tracks and started that in early teens, maybe 13, 14 maybe.
Yep.
I worked my way up to starting placing in the grass tracks, always getting sort of podium sort of positions and that.
Yep.
Then I took a shot at motocross when I was 15. So I did the state round with Tassie with the motocross, but my health just wasn't, I couldn't hold up to it, man. So I was just getting my ass whooped, fuck it, I just couldn't keep up. But the thing that I loved out of that were the jumps, I loved the jumps. So that then, and then freestyle was getting big around then. So, this would have been, oh shit. early 2000s, you know.
Yep.
So freestyling then was becoming a big thing at SMX, you know.
Yeah, John O'Porter and fucking Luke Urick and all them boys.
That's it, man.
Seth Enslow, brother.
The Aussie boys. Yep, that's it, man.
Yep.
And, you know, Brian Deegan, I idolised, man.
Likewise.
You know, he's just that ruthless sort of dude. Metal militia, fucking everything metal with you, you know.
I was the same,
yeah,
bro.
and it didn't take much energy to hit ramps, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I started hitting ramps then, you know, and a story did come about that on some struggles I was going through, but basically I was hitting these ramps that fucking it was I shouldn't even been on a dirt bike, you know what I mean, at this stage, but we'll go to that a bit more, and people will probably understand that.
We will, bro.
Why,
this poddy's going to be mainly based around your health condition, bro, and your heart condition that you've had for your whole life. But we will get to that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just get a couple of these other things out of the way first, like the tattooing side of things, bro. You're a very well-known tattooist. Where did all that start? What got you into it?
You know what? It would have started. I used to go to Melbourne a lot, and one time I was in Melbourne, my dad got a tattoo on his forearm, but it was in in this guy's bedroom. It was through relatives of ours that knew this guy who does tattooing.
Yep.
And I just sat there and fucking watched this, watching it happen, and my old man had to stop halfway through because we had an appointment we had to go to, come back hours later and get it finished, and it flogged him because he probably let it, probably 4-hour gap, and then he had to come back into the tattoo.
Yep.
My other friends or mates were all running around doing what kids do, but I was just fixated on fucking, like putting this needle to the skin and creating a drawing,
Yeah.
I always liked drawing, so maybe that sparked something in my head of being like, fuck, that's what I like.
Yeah.
But I probably really started feeling it. I guess it came with a bit of motocross back in the early 2000s too,
100%.
Tattoos were big and all that kind of stuff.
Sleeve work and stuff,
Yeah, that's it, man, and I was like, it's something I'd love to do, be a tattooer, and I started drawing mainly because I was fucking, like, I just don't sleep at night, like when I was young, I could just never sleep.
Yep.
So I just start drawing all through the night, but I'd do those drawings and I'd throw them out, So no one really knew I was drawing or anything like that. I kept it pretty private, I guess. Like I wasn't an excellent drawer or anything, just basic sort of shit.
Yeah.
But and then as life got on, I lived a life there a bit of just fucking Benelink and all that kind of crap,
Yeah.
And I tried to get apprenticeships here and there. Obviously, back then there was like 2 shops in the state, in Tassie then. So we were going to make a move to
Peter
Queensland,
Jones, bro. Let's
get an apprenticeship rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, old Jonesy, mate. Yeah, old fucking Peter Jones. So he was the only one you'd go to then,
100%.
I remember going to him and he'd be like, oh, fuck, I'm struggling with my own stuff, and then someone else's,
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. And I was getting tattooed then by some really good artists, like in Queensland and all that. One guy being Nuts Robinson. He was really, really fucking known good artist back in the day, man.
Yep.
He done my first tattoo. So we wanted to make a move, and I thought, probably go to Queensland trying to get an apprenticeship. Next minute, my fucking, my partner Simon was pregnant. So we're like, oh, let's put it on hold. And as you know, man, time just fucking goes.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was about 21. And then I was just like, fuck, like I saved up for about, I don't know, 3 months to get like $420. I think it was then to buy a kit off eBay.
Yeah.
And it came with like one machine, fucking power supply, something you'd pay $20 now to get it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they were new to eBay. So I saved up and I got it. And I just basically went from what I watched when I was getting tattooed,
Yeah, so self-taught.
Watch how they set up. Self-taught, yeah, I'm self-taught.
Yeah, sweet.
It's one thing to be proud of in one way, but also too, it took me so many fucking years to learn all the mistakes, that I had to try and fix. Where, say in the 10 years, I could have already learned in 3 years,
Yep.
So it was very hard to start with, man. 'Cause I only had myself to fucking rely on. And even though, I was never sort of pushing on anyone to tattoo them, there was more people starting to come to me, like I was tattooing some family. Some people were saying some all right lines. Like I didn't even know I had a coil machine, but I didn't know it was a liner or a shader or anything,
Yeah.
So I was just started banging them out more and more and more. And then it just sort of started growing, man.
Yeah, so I remember actually, myself, I first started getting tattooed when I was fucking 16, 17 by Jonesy, bro, in at Tassie Tats there in Harrington Street. And around that time, he pissed off to the mainland, shut up shop and went to the mainland. And the old man was still going back and forth to the mainland, getting sleeve finished and whatnot. And I was just wasn't financial enough. I was a fucking second year apprentice or something, so I wasn't, And I was searching around for a tattooist, and your name, bro, kept popping up on social media and stuff. And I knew who you were and shit, obviously from your motocross days and shit. I was like, fuck, I want to get a tattoo done off this bloke, And I think that's when we really kicked it off. I remember coming and I got on my chest and shit done off you underneath your house before you open your shop and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's right. Yeah, that's right, man. I worked under my house there for quite a while.
Yeah. Pretty good little setup under there, though, bro. It was,
Yeah, it ended up being, man, because there was nowhere down here that you'd fucking go. And Tassie then, I'm just going to be fucking honest with it all, man. I'm going to sort of hold back whatever. But Tassie then was known a place not to sort of get tattooed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, oh, no, you got to go to the mainland. You got to go to the mainland and get this and that,
Yep.
Which I agreed on. Because I was the same, I'd go always to Queensland or wherever to get tattooed.
Yep.
But Jonesy with his jack work was great back then or whatever. But other than portraits and all the other stuff that people started doing, it wasn't happening,
Yeah.
So I just kept trying to fucking work on it. And an ad come up in the newspaper about a new studio opening in town. And my wife was like, and looking for artists. My wife was like, I'm going to put a portfolio together and send John in for this fucking interview, I guess,
Yeah,
and and that weekend, man, I was on the drink, And so I ended up going to this interview, but it was sort of painted a picture that these mainland artists that were opening up a studio and someone to learn off, I thought, well, fuck it, I'll go for it. I went and had an interview. I can't say names or anything like that, but with this person, saying they're looking for artists, whatever. And I said, oh, well, here's my work. This is sort of what I know, but this is what I want to learn, everything. I just want to learn everything.
Yep.
And they said, I'll let you know in a couple of weeks. And then I got a call the next day offering me the head position, head artist position, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, the fuck? I don't know what I'm doing, man, myself, I want to learn off someone.
Yeah.
That sort of gave me the foot in the door into a studio,
Yep.
So after a couple of months when I was there, I was like, this isn't quite how it should be. The person who had the studio doing all that, she wasn't at all in the tattoo scene. Like, knew nothing about the tattoo scene, or even just she wasn't an artist or nothing about it, man. It ended up becoming wanted to be a money pit,
Yeah, right.
So me and Woodsy, good old Woodsy.
Yep.
We started off together and we're both just fucking learning, man. And after a bit, like, they'd just want to come in and see what the cash was, man, and we're getting like low percentage, man, and we're pretty much running this shop not knowing what we're doing,
Yep.
So it ended up coming to a final halt when I'm like, fuck this, I'm jumping out. I did go back and see Jonesy, and at that time he said to me that he was leaving. He's going to Melbourne, you know.
Yep.
He goes, if I still had the shop, man, I'd fucking have you in. And I was like, oh, my fucking luck. You know what I mean? I would have been able to go in there. He'd just teach me and just, suck that all in there.
100%.
There was another guy, though, that worked there, which is Jamie.
Yeah, I remember Jamie.
And Jamie said, well, I'll tell Jamie, mate, to put you on. Rah. I said, yeah, no worries, man, So from there I heard nothing. I started going back home tattooing. I end up getting the council called on me and everything possible to be done to me to fuck me up, basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like my Facebook's getting hacked and all that. So, because at this time as well, man, my wife was looking for a shop maybe in Glen Orchy area, you know, something like that. But we had fuck all money, man. Like, then I had 2 young kids, you know, we didn't have no money. And that's what got me into tattooing as well, because I'm like, I need to fucking make money. I've got kids. I want shit in life, you know?
Yeah.
And so basically, I went to the council about this complaint about me tattooing, and they said, look, you've got a room at your house or anything like that? I said, yeah, I've got a room underneath that I've decked out, you know, but I'm trying to find it. Why don't you register that? You know, and I went, oh, fuck, I didn't know I could. You know, I didn't know I could register fucking my room, you know. So I ended up decking it all out, as you've seen, you know, got it all nice, how I wanted it, and tattooing, you know, just started tattooing and building from there. I started getting a lot more clients of, you know, people who I didn't know, you know, they knew the person I tattooed, and, you know,
I would have been one of those clients, bro.
Yeah. But, you know, I would have known you in the circle still, you know.
Yeah, of course,
like I knew of you, you know, I knew young Braden, young Tonksy, you know.
Yeah.
So that was cool, you know.
Yeah.
I tattooed your dad under there as well, I think, you know.
Yeah.
But then, the circle just got bigger, and quite a few I didn't know they were. So I was like, fuck, I've got to find somewhere, man, you know, because I got kids and it's my home and all that. So, you know, to cut it, you know, to shorten, I guess, up top of Berridale Road, not far from our house, there's a group of shops.
Yep.
And at the end one could have been vacant. It was just used for storage.
Yep.
Spoke to the landlord, and it was like $100 a week. And I'm like, fuck, you know, I didn't really want here. It had bars on the windows and all this sort of shit. It was ghetto ad.
Yep.
And well, fuck it, you know, $100 a week. Well, you know, I can't lose. You know, I'll make $100 somehow and pay rent. You know, if everything went to shit.
Yep.
So I had to do the whole shop. Just, you know, mates come in and, you know, tattooing them for work. You know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
End up painting her up. Got it all going, man. And yeah, I remember I opened the doors on the 2nd of February, what was it, 2011. Yeah, and then I started off in one little shop, man. I had Liz come in as like to teach her. Then I had Andrew come in. Yeah. So Andrew Smith.
Yeah.
He was at the time learning as well, you know. So I got speaking to him bouncing off. Literally, man, this is how the sort of story goes. We got him in. He come over and worked in the studio. So we'd do our tattoo. We'd fucking work all day, nights a lot, for pretty much nothing, trying to do portraits and just working on trying new shit and trying to learn. Then we'd give each other, you know, a photo at the end of the day off our phone and tell each other to pick the fuck out of it. You know, tell us what's wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
Because, you know, someone else is going to see, you know, someone else's eyes is going to see what's wrong with it than your own, you know.
Yeah, for
obviously,
sure.
when you see a tattoo of your own, you're still going to pick at it, but then give it to someone else's eyes. Yeah, this is wrong, that's wrong. Right. Let's try that. Let's try this next time.
Yeah.
And we just fucking grew off each other, man, you know, started doing that. And then Hannah Flowers, she came in.
Yep.
She had already done a bit of an apprenticeship under a guy in town. That all went to shit. And then I ended up contacting her, and I've seen her art. She's a great fucking artist.
Yeah,
man.
she's got their own style.
She's like international now. Yeah, she has, man. Like she's, you know, international fucking fame now. You know, Hannah. Great humble bird, man. You know, and so she came in, done her first little tattoo, and then the three of us were set up in this tiny little room, man. You know, all working like we're so close together we could have held hands, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I remember.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. And then next door of the complex that come available, so I asked the owner of it all, could I expand into that? I brought in another lady artist of Charlotte.
Yeah.
She's still with me this day, man. It's been like 10 years now.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so had her in, man. So I did all the second shot. Obviously some complications. I've had complications to fucking open, you know, multiple hurdles, you know.
Yep.
And then just maybe 2 years ago, I opened up the third shop, and now we've got like, fucking how many? There's 11 of us all up now. So
yeah, right, unreal, bro.
yeah, it's nice and big, you know, and So who I have here now, I'll reel them all off. So that when you mention money, you know, so Andrew's has sort of come back, but he's back and forth from here in Melbourne a lot now, which is really good, man. You know.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Hannah, she.
Yeah.
So he was in Melbourne and doing all that. He's traveling a lot around Europe and all that now, and so he's just back and forth. Like I said, I've always got a station for him, man. If Hannah, if she comes over Australia, she ducks in here every now and then. She normally does a bit privately, man, because like the messages just go crazy.
Yeah,
they know she's in Australia down, you know.
Yeah.
So then I've got Charlotte. She's still with me.
Yep.
Then I've got Brandon.
Yep.
He's been with me, maybe 7 years now. I'm not going to be able to say all the years, man.
You're right, bro. Yeah.
So then I've got Bowie, like Big Bo.
Yep.
Then I've got in Kira. She's an apprentice.
Yep.
She's almost pretty much done with that, man. Pulls some work.
Yeah, cool.
I'm just coming through. I've got Ash.
Yep.
Ash packs now, man. He used to go the road. Got Odie. I'm with him. I've got young Jesse. I've got Seb. And now I've got to go through and Casey.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You know, young Casey Jones. Yeah, she does beautiful work too, man. They all do their own opportunity because she's been with me now for quite a while.
Yep.
But she's shown dedication in just drawing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So I'm like, all right, I'll teach you what I can teach and start your line work and all that. So it has been constantly growing. Now, a lot, like, man, when I first started, right, I had a vision how I wanted a tattoo studio because other studios I've been to, it was fucking arrogancy. You know what I mean? Like, you're putting them out, you know, fucking paying for their meal, but they're sort of, it's like treating you like you're fucking ruining their day, you know? So my thing was that first I wanted, you know, clients, customers out to be welcome, you know, welcome into the shop.
Yep.
Just feel comfortable, bro, because it makes such a fucking difference, you know?
Yep.
Don't let the clients down, you know, and also just putting your 110% into each piece you do. And, you know, because at the end of the day, those clients keep us doing what we love, man.
100%,
you know what I mean?
Bro, yeah.
And, you know, and if we didn't have that, fucking, we're not much good at anything else, probably. You know what I mean? I know I couldn't go and work anywhere else. So it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're fucking love our art. You know, we've got a good, strong bond here at the moment, which we always have. I've built that. I've always liked that. And it's a place where even artists come here, man, and just feel fucking away from the world, you know?
Yeah.
And clients, like, you know, if I'm sure I'd get multiple responses off clients, as in some days are crazy and singing and hypo, and then other days they're more chilled or into the zone.
Yeah.
You know, but where I wanted my artwork to go was into like realism, you know, like your portraits and coloured portraits, etc. Because no one was sort of doing that down here. Yeah, you know, and so challenging, you know. I've done quite a lot of memorial portraits now. And each one of them is always hard, you know, but I'm more comfortable in doing them because I've got, you know, my sort of structure down pat on how I work with my portraits now. Like, I mean, I'm constantly, every single one I do, I'm constantly changing that bit to learn from it, you know?
Yeah,
you never
sure,
stop learning. Like, fuck, you know, I used to be a thing of like many years ago, you know, I want to make it, these artists want to make this. There's no top, man. You know what I mean? It's like you got to be happy within yourself, within your work, and your clients happy, and then I feel like you should be, you know, comfortable in what you're doing and happy and settled in life, bro.
Yeah, 100%,
you know?
bro.
That's how I look at it, man. That's how I look at it.
It's a good way to look
at
it, bro.
You know, many years ago, it is, man. You know, because many years ago I used to chase that. Fuck, I want more, you know.
Yeah.
And it used to stress me out.
Yeah.
And then I take myself back to when I started. All I wanted to achieve was be, you know, a sort of reputable artist in Hobart and have a nice shop, you know, a sort of reputable shop in Hobart, you know, where I believe and I I'm not being biased and it's something against anyone else. I really feel we've built, not just me, all the artists and everyone else that's come involved has built this studio, a big landmark in Tasmania, man. You know what I mean?
Not just Tassie, bro. Fucking Australia, man. It's known. I've heard of your shop's name up here on the Goldie, bro, plenty of times. You got no idea. It's like your name, bro. Your name, even along with Andrew Smith and even Hannah Flowers and stuff too. Your names. I've heard your names up here. Obviously, the Gold Coast is fucking tattoo crazy, bro. You know, so people ask me, who done your work?
Ask me too.
Yeah, I'm always getting asked who done your work and stuff, and as soon as I mention your name or Andrew Smith, we've heard that bloke before. I know who he is or whatever, but right. Yeah. See, I always like to say, well, you'd know me personally too as a person. I never fucking want to be down arrogant or anything like that. No. I like to stay very humble, and you are, bro. You're very, very humble. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to hear that, like what you said, it makes me feel proud, I guess.
Yeah, awesome,
in those areas.
Yeah, so
and then it's a good feeling, man. But I don't. It's like when you sort of say that, I still don't take it in as much. Like, I get awkward, with compliments and shit like that.
It's
very awkward with that.
It's natural, isn't it?
I've got to learn to probably start relaxing a bit on that, because I create everything into a humour. Even all the serious shit in my life, if I'm telling it, I will sort of put humour to it.
Yeah.
But that's externally. Internally, I'm fucking I'm breaking a lot of certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I sort of make a bit of a promise to myself in this podcast with you, is just try and be open with everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother, more than anything.
Yeah, and just, because I know a lot of people have a lot of hard things out there and go through a lot of hard stuff, and I always put it back to that. But I think to this area, I put that bit aside and probably go deep within myself to be able to express my story properly. And to debrief it, because I'll say on this podcast, but then when it'll come into, I'll see someone whenever I say about podcasts, I'll be like, oh yeah, no, and I'll sort of shut off again, So I'll do my best to try and to explain and go deep as much as I can with the sort of topics you want to bring up. You know?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bro. Explain the heart condition, brother. This is a touchy subject. The heart condition you were born with. What was it like for your parents when you were born?
I can't remember. No.
Well, obviously you've been told.
No. Yes, no, of course, brother. I like to get to.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So, obviously I've been told all this.
So start off with the heart condition. What's it called?
Yep.
Yeah, sort of explain that a little bit, brother.
Yep. Okay. So my condition's called Epstein's anomaly, but there's a lot of severities in it.
Yep.
And I had to be the lucky one to have the worst case of it.
Yep.
So my mum, back then, so this is 85, probably 84, end of 84. Had the ultrasounds on. They said they were all different, but the heart rate was really, really high. Being the baby,
Yeah.
They think the machine was broken and all this other shit. And then mum just sort of had a bit of a feeling like this ain't right, something's fucking not right. So they ended up doing a C-section, got me out straight away. So I was born sort of blue or whatever. Straight away a team come from the Royal Melbourne and they took me.
Straight from birth?
Straight to Royal Melbourne. Yeah, straight from birth, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So they explained to my mum and dad that, I was very sick and I'm most likely ain't going to make it within a day or two. But they're going to do what they can do.
Yep.
So my mum's Catholic, so they got a priest to baptise me straight away as Catholic.
Yep.
Then they put me in a induced coma for a few months to try and work out what what was going on, you know. So I was plugged up to everything, you know.
Yep.
I think it was the fourth or fifth day the doctor discovered I had Epstein's anomaly. But I think the condition itself was only discovered a few years before.
Yeah, right.
Because most babies were just dying.
Yeah, so it was fresh to the doctors too then.
Yeah, fresh to the doctors, man. You know, like pretty much nearly every step of my life it's been fresh to them because it is very rare, the case, especially the severity of it. So it's just pretty much the tricuspid valve that's in the right bottom chamber of the heart just doesn't close properly.
Yeah, right.
Just constantly blood pushes. By the blood pushing, it sort of, stretches the heart out. So then the heart becomes enlarged, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So obviously mum was very fucking, they were very distraught. Fuck. And my mum was laid up in the hospital, you know.
Yep.
She does tell a story that, because her mother passed away 3 months before I was born. She does tell a story that she believes she's seen my nan, so her mother, holding a baby.
Wow.
Said, he'll be right. And she didn't even know I was sick at this time, you know what I mean? She said, what the fuck's going on? Because she was, C-section drugged up.
Yeah.
And obviously, docs like it's drugs and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, after a while, obviously mum healed up a little bit, but they had a van at the time. So back then, Geelong to Melbourne was like a 2-hour odd trip, I think.
Yeah.
So Dad used to make a bed up out the back for Mum to be able to get up to Melbourne and see me as regularly as she could.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think after a few months I was able to come home, but pretty much told, pretty much come home and see what happens, basically, you know. And then I guess issues from me starting to understand things were sort of happening and going wrong was maybe around seven or 8. Although I think I might have, that's right. So I used to suffer with SVT, tachycardia.
Yeah. I've done your research on that.
Heart.
That, bro, yeah.
Yeah, so that would just come out of nowhere, man, and just heart would pike and fucking, it'd be over 200 odd beats a minute. I think my first episode of that I was maybe 6. But it was pretty fucking delirious,
Yeah.
Then I remember going back and forth from Melbourne for doctor's appointments and taking medicine when I was young.
Yep.
And I kind of started obviously realising then, I've got something wrong with me. Didn't know I'm bad. Mum and Dad obviously kept everything aside and I just kept living my life as normal. But I remember once, my mum and dad had an appointment in Melbourne with my professor at the time, and I was just playing with my cousin in the waiting room, and then got tired and went in the room, and then I remember the specialist saying that, probably enjoyed the last year or so with your boy, with Glenn, it could be very unlikely to make the double digits,
Yeah, wow.
So they sort of, I could see Mum was up, crying and upset, that sort of stuff. So I knew something was happening, and I thought I heard something about operation. So that was scary for me at that time. As a kid, I was like, fuck, And Mum reminded me when I was quite young that I said to Mum, because I've always been brought up to believe in a heaven and whatever else.
Yep.
Like I said, if I die, then I will have no mum, And Mum was like, my mum would be your mum until I got there, just for that bit of comfort,
Yep.
So I was like, oh, okay, fuck, So I was, pretty scared of the operation coming up, but I was having a lot of the SVTs. When I was 10, I think, or 9, might have had my first ablation, it's called.
Okay.
So they run catheters up 3 arteries and try and burn out the electrodes, fucking nerves in the heart that pretty much triggers the SVT.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I had that done, and back then, man, you'd have to fucking lay straight, leg straight, not allowed to bend it for like 24 hours,
I'll be
So I was like
fucked,
9 or 10 or something. Yeah, and I remember waking up. I felt all this warm and the nurses were over me and all that because I must have bent my leg and I had fucking blood everywhere,
Yeah.
in the Royal Children's Hospital. So I've had all my stuff done in Melbourne, Royal Children's.
Yep.
It's always too complex for them, So I got released out of the hospital feeling fucking awesome. Like I was all healthy,
Yeah, yep.
I was young and running around thinking I was good. Because they never knew it would work. The only way they knew it would work is if you didn't have SVT within a few months.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So there was no time to go, oh, yeah, we fixed it,
Yeah.
So that night I remember waking up early hours in the morning in bad SVT.
Yep. What was
and
it?
Then I was rushed over.
Yeah. Sorry, bro, to cut you off, but just quickly explain.
No, you're right. Go, brother.
What are the side effects to it, bro? Like, what actually happens to you up here, sort of thing? In your own head, like, or your body, like, what happens?
Yeah. Okay. So pretty much the ticket's just going crazy. It goes crazy enough, man, where your body's just shaking.
Like, does it hurt? Like...
Not really hurt, just more of that thumping. So you don't really feel much pain.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember back. There wasn't much pain, man.
Yep.
It was more of how doctors would explain it is like constantly running at the end of a marathon, constantly going.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Because it just drains the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
But it's a big risk because it can then develop blood clots and cause strokes and, obviously fucking cardiac arrest and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was more of to what it become to us was more of a pain in the ass,
Yeah, right.
Because it'll just come out of nowhere, That night, it was a lot. So that night after I had it, my parents took me straight to the emergency in Melbourne. My professor come in. It was like 3 a.m. They're trying to give me a lot of drugs. So they'd normally they'd give you some kind of drug. Forgot the name of it now. But they'd have to just do it really nice and slowly.
Yep.
Because it was quite dangerous. If they, if you had too much, you fucking just stop your heart,
Yeah.
So it's very dangerous then. And at that time, it just was not stopping, man. It just was not going,
Yep.
Even Mum said she's like in that hospital that, she prays to God all the time. She's like, fuck, if you have to just take him, it was obviously seeing it as a parent now, I didn't really fuck with them, see that,
Oh, bro, I can imagine myself
put on
too.
that brave face,
Yeah.
Yeah, you got children, man, and put on that brave face
100%.
to make me feel like it was all right.
Yep.
But then from there, they end up sedating me and using the paddles. So they used to paddle me then to shock it back into rhythm. Woke up in the hospital. Obviously, that didn't work. So then I was sent home. So I ended up having 7 of them all up. 7 ablations all up.
Yep.
They got it fixed when I was 13.
Yep.
So it was, But by the end of it, man, I was going to hospital probably twice a week with this SVT,
Can you Sorry, bro. Can you explain the I've heard your story about on your way back from America and it happened on the plane.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about that story, bro? Tell that story. That's fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah, that was a bit hectic, eh?
Yeah. So this was another episode of the tachycardia, yeah? Yep.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So Mum, she's always they were battlers as I was growing up. Didn't have much, but Mum always worked hard, put everything away, and try and give me, I guess, memories and then memories. That sort of stuff makes the most out of it.
Yep.
So went on a real tight budget, got us to America for like 4 or 5 weeks. Did the flight over, it was all great. I did have an episode of SVT in LA. Because they were, sorry if I jump back and forth a bit.
No, you're all right, brother, yeah.
But when I was here at home, they were giving me like 3 milligrams of adenosine.
Yep.
And this adenosine, how people describe that is like you're fucking dying, man.
Yeah.
Because your whole body just goes hot. It's fucking horrible.
Yep.
So they were giving me 3 mils of that. When I had this episode in LA, they came and they wanted to draw me 10 milligrams off, you know. But like it was a whole big of 911, fucking the police come and the ambos come, fire brigade come, all this, you know, all full on in a hotel. And Mum's like, no, he only has 3 milligrams, you know. And it just happened to be that where these ambos had come from, they're the ones who developed this drug, adenosine.
So they knew.
So they'd done it. They knew, they knew what I should be having, you know, because every other time they were putting me back to sleep and paddling me, like we're talking at least once, twice a week, you know.
Yeah.
And then, so then they hit me with that, the 10 milligrams, and because it happens really quick. So they've got to shoot it up in your arm and then lift your arm really high, like real quick, you know.
Yep.
And you'll feel it just rush through you, and it's just you can't explain it. It's just you know, pretty shit. And then that worked for about a minute, and then jumped back into SBT.
Yeah.
So then they gave me 12 milligrams. That didn't work. Then gave me another 12 milligrams.
So what,
and
10,
that hit it.
And
that helped it.
Yeah, right. So 10. So you're used to 3 milligrams.
Yeah.
So then they've gone 10, then 12, milligrams. Then 12 again.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. And with no pain relief in that, man, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, wow.
So it worked. It brought it back to its normal rhythm. So Mum got them to write a letter about it, you know,
for the docs
what
back
milligram
here.
I should have. Yeah, for the docs back here. And so they did all that, you know, wrote it down. And obviously being in America, because fucking there's no health insurance, you know.
Yeah,
of
course, yeah.
They end up wiping it, and they just said, look, just you know, wipe the bill. They wiped the bill. I was lucky.
Wow,
And then, we're flying home, man. I don't know, 8-9 hours out of Sydney.
Yep.
And I was sleeping on the floor, and I woke up. It was probably like fucking 1 in the morning or something like that.
Yep.
In SBT.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, oh, shit. I went and woke up. Mum behind me. I said, so I used to say, you know, I'm having an attack. You know, I'm having an attack. Mum was like, oh, shit. You know, freaked out and went and got some air hostess and whatever else. And they've actually asked if there was any doctors on board and all this sort of stuff.
Yep.
There was an anaesthesiist on board. So I used to try some tricks where they'd rub the vein in your neck and, you know, that sort of stuff. Dunk your head in ice water. They used to do that a lot when I was young to try and shock it.
Yeah,
you know, of those little things.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So they pretty much cleared that oil and just put me laying there with the oxygen going. I was in SBT for about 5 hours. So in that time, while they were in the air, they rang me specialist in Melbourne, got hold of him and said, this is the situation.
Yep.
I mean, SBT was fucking about 6 hours out of Sydney now, you know?
Yeah.
Well, we can stop in Fiji somewhere. And my specialist said, no, just keep coming because there'll be no point, you know, stopping there. They're not going to go through, just keep coming.
Yeah.
They did. They started freaking out because I was on the last oxygen tank and all that sort of stuff. And we're still probably 3 hours, 4 hours out now. Yeah, and then, so sometimes it'll just turn, man. And then it just went bang and went back in the rhythm.
Yeah,
and then as soon as it stops, it goes back in the rhythm. It's like, I'm all good.
Just
you know,
instantly,
like,
is it?
Bang, I'm all right. Just instantly, man. Yeah, just instantly of like, fucking bang. And then I got up rest of the flight and I watched the last bit of the movie and got off at Sydney. Yeah.
Bro, I don't mean to laugh, man. But wow, that's a crazy story, bro. Like, fucking oath.
Yeah. Because we were so used to it as well that it was happening so much that, you know, when it would be reverted, normally they'd keep you in hospital or whatever, but I'd be sent home an hour or two later.
Yeah.
Because
it was the norm for you, bro.
We knew so much about it. It was the norm, man, you know, exactly.
Yeah.
And the condition was that they wanted me to be off the aeroplane first, where the ambulance and all that there, and I had to be wheeled out in a wheelchair and all that.
Yeah, yep.
And I hate that shit, you know, and I said, I ain't doing that. So I walked out and the ambos and all that there with a wheelchair to rush me off and they wanted me to go to the hospital and be checked. This in Sydney. Yeah. And I like carrying on a bit. So no, I don't want to get in a wheelchair. I'm right. You know, I'm walking. Took a lot of convincing to just let us fly home, you know.
Yep.
So they end up letting us. I think we missed the flight or something. Got another flight and end up flying back home to Hobart.
Yep.
So, but they weren't going to let me fly home. They wanted me to go to the hospital and all that. But I said, no, I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm right. But so it was always, it become a very big inconvenience. But the more as I got older, I was still having got more dangerous and dangerous. Affecting my heart and all that sort of shit, you know.
Yeah.
My mum had multiple arguments with doctors, man, like about that, about giving me adenosine at 10 milligrams or 12, you know. They'd be going, oh, that's fucking fatal and all this other shit. And I'll go, here's the letter, this is what works. We're in here like once a week, you know, and be a new doctor or whatever.
Yep.
I'd fucking argue the point. Like one time I was left there for fucking 6 hours and my mum's like, you need to fucking do something, like.
Yep.
Because, you know, then massive risk, longer it lasts, fucking higher the chances.
Yeah.
But once they got it down pat, it was good, man. Like, so, of course, it's such a horrible feeling. Give me a drug called midazolam.
Yep.
And it's just like liquid fucking Valium, man, and it's the best hit anything you can have in your life.
Yeah, right.
And first time I actually got a crack at that, I was around 10 or 11 there. And it like makes you forget shit, but it's quick acting. So they'd hit me with that, spaced out, and then they'd hit me with the adenosine, and then I'd wake up. Well, not wake up, you sort of wake, but then I'd come to it after about 20 minutes. I can leave hospital about an hour, and I was like having come downs, and I didn't even know I was having come downs because I was just in a real shitty mood driving back home.
Yeah.
But I was too young to know what a come down was. But that's obviously what it was, you know.
Yeah.
Fucking tense and full on.
Fucking crazy.
I was lucky at 13 they got it sorted, man, you know. So that once that was sorted, then it was the next step, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Where to go from there. It wasn't just the end of it, you know.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah, so so when was your first major surgery, bro, and what was involved with that?
Yeah. So I was 17. So if you know, so I used to play soccer and all that, right? When I was young. My doctors are against me playing soccer. They fucking pretty much wanted me cotton wolves, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I still played soccer. To make them happy, I wore a chest guard, like a fucking motorbike arm, right?
Yeah, righto. Yeah.
So that was embarrassing in itself. But I've obviously learned as I've got on and just wipe it and get along with life, right?
Yeah, yep.
Because I don't like to be victimized or, you know, pity fucking story and shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I used to sort of hide it as much as I could. But then round 10, got into boxing. My brother was a great boxer, you know, and all that. And that's where I met Ricky, who became my best friend, still best mates, you know.
Yep.
You know them all, you know.
Yeah, shout out to Rick. That's sort
of how we all know through that circle, you know. Yeah. And I fucking love boxing, man. Like, that's probably what kept me going all right, because I'd train with them as much as I could keep up. I'd train. And all I wanted to do was I wanted to fight, you know. I wanted to get in that ring and have a fight. But obviously I'd never passed the fucking medical and all that. So, you know.
Which is all 100% understandable, bro. Like, you know.
Oh, definitely, man. You know, it was like all right, you know, of course. You know, I didn't even try and have a medical, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I try to be involved in that as much as I could. I love the boxing.
Yep.
And then I started the racing and all that. But, you know, to get back to it, where I was 17 when I had my major heart surgery. So I was 15 and 16 still racing motocross, right?
Yep.
And I needed the tricuspid valve repaired, and being told pretty much if this isn't done, he's fucking lucky to have a couple of years in.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, whatever. I still did my thing.
Yep.
Fucking raced and did all that other stuff.
Yeah.
When the doctors knew I was racing or riding bikes, man, you know. But yeah. But you know, like Mum said, well, he's letting him do what he wants to do, you know, and build character, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the only problem with the procedure I needed, there was no surgeon in Australia who could perform it, and there was only 2 in the world at the time.
Yep.
And one was in France, and his name was Dr. Broussard. So my professor at the time was like, the hands are kind of tied, you know.
Yeah.
So my mum and dad had tried to think of a way going to France and having this procedure done and all that. It wasn't going to be financially possible, man, you know, but they would have tried to make something work, you know. But then we had a call from the specialist, like the professor in Melbourne, saying that Dr. Brazard, the one in France, is moving to the Royal Children's in Hospital, like permanently, to do these things.
Wow.
So he wanted to see me straight away.
How lucky.
So I was just fucking like, lucky, man. Yeah, you know, like, oh, shit, all right.
Yep.
So that was my first invasive fucking, oh, shit, I'm really not well, you know. So I went out a meeting with him. He's just, you know, typical French guy, fucking straightforward. And I said, oh, well, if I don't have it, how long would I live for? And he said, oh, you'd be lucky with 6 months, you know. Oh, no, fuck, all right. Tells you all the con, pro, fucking what can go wrong, the whole lot, you know.
Yep.
Going, all right, whatever. And so I got my date to have that done. I went in there, not, you know, I hadn't been cut open yet, you know, and I sort of went in there, it not realising how big and extreme this was going to be. I remember waking up, the tube down my throat, pretty uncomfortable. They then pull it out after 4 or 5 hours, you know, because you got to get breathing.
Yeah.
So they end up pulling that out. That really hurts because when they pull it out, you cough and your chest is just fucking being wide together.
Yep.
That's a bit painful, even though you're on a lot of drugs, sedation.
Yep.
And then you've got drain tubes that drain the blood out of the area. That go into a bottle, you know. So my first one, shit, what am I now? It's probably almost 20 years ago was my first open heart surgery, you know.
Yep.
So a lot have changed then. So they used to put a tube that come in your belly, they go all the way up into the heart sac to drain. And that just wasn't slowing down. Normally you'd have that for a couple of days. It was in for like 10 or 11 days, man.
Fuck.
So I was in hospital for this whole time, and I thought I was recovering and all that, but I must have been having a hard time, you know.
Yep.
Shit was going wrong, collapsed lung, all that kind of crap, but just thinking it's all part of it.
Yep.
The day they said, all right, you're safe enough to go to the hotel close by, let's get you out. So that was wicked, man. I was stoked. So then they had to pull the tube out of your guts, which is a crazy experience, that shit. Fuck. And because it'd been in there longer, it started like knitting to the fucking, you know, to whatever else in there. And so when they pulled it, like, you know, I had my old man film it and shit. And it was like literally, like, it's just all crazy experience, man.
And you're awake all the way through that, obviously, like.
Yeah. So awake with all that, man. And then, oh man, it was just fucking good to be knowing it was done.
Yeah.
You know, it's done, you know.
Yep.
My mum and dad was happy. Then we went and see my family in Geelong, and I just remember Dad and I saying, oh, we're so grateful, you know, done and all this shit. Went and got the final check-up on the Tuesday and fly home, hopefully the Wednesday or Thursday. When they were doing the echo and all that, I fucking realised something wasn't right. But then the surgeon come in. Then I had to have the meeting with me professor after it. And they said that, look, it hasn't worked. Fucking rah. I'm like, fuck, you know, and I'm just worn out.
Yeah.
It was just so disappointing, man, you know. I was like, fuck.
Yeah. And you're 17 at this time.
Where am I at with that then? Yeah, 17.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, where does that leave? And they said, oh, you're back at square one. I know, fucking hasn't even helped at all, you know.
Yeah.
So that went on to, they wanted to do that surgery on that Thursday. So 2 days later, I was like, fuck, I can't do this, man. Like, you know, I just felt too unwell, you know.
Yeah.
And then they said, take an hour, think on it. They can let us know because we're going to have to start getting it organised. Yeah, all right. And I said to my mum and dad, you know, because it's like, do you care if I don't have this done, you know? And all that. They were like, no, of course not. You fucking do what you want to do, boy. You know?
Yep.
And I just felt like I couldn't, you know, I felt like I couldn't get through that again. My body was fucking just worn out, man. I was meant to be worn out. It was the first time I could really look at myself.
Yeah.
You know, especially having the scar and all that and going, fuck, you're sick. You know what I mean? It was like this reality hit of like, you know, you really are sick, you know, because my whole life, of going through all these episodes, it was like fucking system go in, put a brave face on, say you're all right and you're all good, get it fixed, leave, and forget about it, right?
Yep.
So that was sort of how, you know, I've looked back now and I've found some issues within that because I never validated my own feelings and what was happening in those times.
Yeah.
Because I kept trying to put a brave face on. I've never ever wanted my mum or dad to worry, you know.
Yep.
And they did the same, you know, and didn't want to talk about it because obviously knowing now that I'm older, they didn't want to talk about it either because they're trying to shelter me from it.
Yep.
And it would be fucking hard, you know, for parents to hear shit. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I ended up denying having it done. I said, no, I'm going home. You know, I've got a few mates who are turning 18. I'm turning 18.
Yeah, that's that time of your life, eh? Like,
your
life's just starting. Like,
good times, bro. It is, you know, doing all that stuff. And so I did. I went home. Ricky had his 18th. I went there. I couldn't drink because I wasn't long after the surgery.
Yeah.
But I think after that, man, I was like back on the dirt bike, not hard.
Yep.
You know, 6-7 weeks later, all that sort of stuff. I fucking shouldn't have been so small for it to get together. But I guess I got a bit rebellious as well. You know, a bit fucking pissed off with a lot of things.
Yeah,
whatever else.
Sure,
my 18th come along and went out and pissed on all night. You know, like I wasn't even meant to be drinking the fucking alcohol. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, so we went out. Man, and I drank almost that whole month, and then, you know, I ended up getting really sick with a staph infection, with a blood infection. They didn't know for a while, and that was probably the closest I was to death at that time. So you probably a week then, but I won't go too much into that.
Yep.
Like, you know, other stuff might be a bit more important, but you know, they were told then. Mum, go and call you know, your family. All my organs were shutting down and all that sort of shit. But flew me to Melbourne. After 6 weeks, I started coming better. Ended up going home, and then that was from about end of February to mid-April, May.
Yep.
And then they booked me back in. After that, I still went to the old Wild West, mate. You know, sure we had a drink there together. I don't know, but and then I was booked in next surgery. That would have been in July 23rd, I think.
Yep.
So I was 18 then.
Yep.
Don't know what year that is, but
yep.
So over there, and I was recovered and out of hospital. Yeah, so I had the second one done, and I was out in 5 or 6 days from that one. You know, so I had the surgery done, recovered, out of the hospital on the 6th day, I think. Stayed in hospital, stayed in an apartment close to the hospital for another 4 or 5 days maybe.
Yep.
And then went for the final checkup again, obviously stressed out, thinking, fuck, is this going to be right?
Yep.
But yeah, I had the whole clear, man, to come on home. So I was like, oh, fucking, you know, it was good. It was done, fucking sorted. When, you know, finally went through all that other stuff to now have the result that I needed, you know. But it's sort of like, as you know, as we were saying earlier, you know, I think, fuck, I've done some stupid shit. But when you're young, you know, you do. But while hitting ramps, you know, like doing freestyle and all that back then, and all I remembered was wanting to get back on that bike, you know, to feel normal again.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, you know, here we go. And then, so my mate had a setup at his house. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but he had a really high kicker ramp, man, and a big steep down ramp. And it was it was about 60 foot or something, you know.
Yep.
So it was probably, I don't know, maybe 5 weeks after the surgery. I went out there with my mate and I just took my bike out to have a bit of a squirt around the paddock, and I was watching him coming up to it. I just thought, fucking man. And I just lined it up and fucking hit it. I overshot the down ramp, hit the bottom, and it just felt like I'd split in half, you know. But I was still together, so that was all right. And then we won maybe one or two more times, and it just felt so fucking good though, man. You know what I mean? Like, I felt normal again. I didn't feel like a sick person again. But I was sore for a good week or two, but it was worth it, brother, you know?
Yeah.
But it was something stupid that I'd done.
Yep.
I'd never think about doing, I wouldn't even think about fucking jumping now, but, you know. But, yeah, but so I always try to get back to normality very quickly, you know. Yeah. You know, it's sometimes hard. I've learned in the last couple of years to try and fucking dig a bit and let some emotions and actually find out what's going on, because for so many years I've had a lot of stuff compressed there. I didn't know really what it was, and just fucking get pissed and not be a nice person on the piss, you know, and I have plenty of regrets on all that shit, you know what I mean? But feel like you're a fuckwit. But yeah, I from what I've discovered, I've got a lot of fucking a lot of trauma, childhood stuff that I've never acknowledged. You know, never acknowledged. Probably mainly because I didn't want to fucking be known as that. I didn't want to be known as a sick kid or anything like that, you know? Weird. But,
Of course, bro.
So that kept me good for about 10 years. I did well, and then I had to have another one.
So, you've lost some loved ones along the way, brother. I obviously know personally. I know you personally, so I remember those hard times, brother. Your cousin Candy. Go, if you don't mind, bro. Go into that a little bit, and what sort of happened with you there when that happened.
So that fucking threw me out for quite a while. I was very, very close. You know, I don't have a big family, you know. Not many rallies. But I was, you know, they were in Melbourne. My cousin Candy and my cousin Troy and all that. The whole family lived in Melbourne. So when I was going through a lot of my stuff, would stay there also. Make a bit of a holiday out of it, catch up with them, go to my appointments, whatever. We kind of lost a bit of contact there for a few years. It's a while ago now, man. We're talking probably 2008 or so. End up getting back in contact, Facebook, that sort of stuff, you know. But yeah, so she was all good and well when I got back in contact with her, and then maybe after 12 months, she found out that she had cervical cancer. So that was a bit rough. My old man just went through throat cancer and all that, and just he was quite sick, but come out of it and got in remission and all that. I sort of knew obviously about the cancer and all that, and I was a bit like, oh well, you know, you'll have this done, Candy, and your chemo and get all that done, and you'll be right. You know? So she did all that, got it all sorted. You know, I guess the main thing about this, especially for women, is that she got checked and they found cancer cells, but then when she went and had a biopsy, they didn't find any cancer. So then they let her go. And then after months, she went back and they found cancer. So then they gave her all the chemotherapy, you know? She had all that done. Then coming into just the Christmas, it was 2010 of Christmas. She found out that the cancer, she had a bad back and all that sort of crap. That's what she thought. But after test results and all that, the cancer was back. She had a big tumor on the spine, big blood clot, like a lot of shit going on. I was like, oh, fuck, well, you know, you'll be all right. You just go through it again, get it all sorted. Literally, so the day I opened the studio, so on the 2nd of February, I had a call from my cousin Troy saying that Candy had just seen the doctors and all that, and they've given her 3 months to live, pretty much.
Yep.
Oh, what the fuck, man? Like, what? Well, I fucking got a tattoo waiting and shit like that.
Yeah.
So got a tattoo done and spoke to her that night. She could still have some treatment and all that, which she did have because she never brought the subject up about passing away, anything like that,
Yeah.
So I flew over there on the Sunday straight away. I hadn't seen her in years, Hadn't seen her in years, so I just fucking flew over.
Yep.
Seen her and it was good, man. Just fucking caught up and had laughs and drinks and all that shit. And then I made it quite regular going over there.
Yep.
That's how I learned about palliative care and shit because she was in palliative care and like, what hospital's that? And I was like, in palliative care is, obviously it's treatment for pain, all that sort of stuff, but it's end of life care, basically,
Yeah.
So she was going in and out of palliative care. So I'd go over there sometimes, and visit her, go for a weekend or something. Some weekends she'd be in palliative care. I'd sleep in palliative care as well, She'd had her partner, she had a little boy and all that sort of stuff. So we'd just fuck around and joke. I would always go there and just be a clown, And she liked that because I put fucking normality back in her life, That's what she used to say. And a partner and that would call me and say, she's not real well, rah. I'd get on a flight and go over and then she'd spike up. I'm like, she's fucking all right,
Yeah.
But, to skip right forward to it, that she ended up survived about 6 months. But so that was my first, I guess, face of death, where I first experienced it. So that week I went over there, that weekend she was in palliative care. Seeing her that day, she just wasn't really there, She was quite out of it and all that.
Yep.
The boy and all that come in to see her and family and all that was about. And the doctors had said, we've got to stop these Clexine and all that because she was bleeding internally too much. Obviously, the risk of that is that blood clot travelling and giving her cardiac arrest. And it's just a fucking bit of a shit show,
Yeah.
So we all just stayed there, her family and me and my mum and dad, in the waiting room. But there was meant to be 2 people in her room at every, at a time though, no more. But I was allowed to just be in there fucking constantly, and I just sat by a bed, man, all night, just all night talking to her and fucking sitting there,
Yeah.
I remember around 3:30 a.m. spoke to her, just sort of in her ear to see if she could hear or anything, and I was holding her hand and stuff, and I said to her that if you hear me, Candy, we're all here, darling, and love you, and and you can hear me squeeze me hand, and she squeezed me hand, and for some fucking reason, it was like something on my head, coming in my head to say, to let her know it was all right, to just to go,
Yeah.
To just let her know that, she's very loved and she, and she's won the battle and, and if she needs to go, she needs to go, Yeah, comfortable in it, and she squeezed my hand twice. And then after about 15 minutes, I spoke to her again, but there was just sort of nothing there. It was just a real still silence. And then around 5:30, I was sitting by a bedside and just in that moment, she sort of opened her eyes and sort of got up real quick and threw her arms out and whatever. Some fucking reason, I thought she was waking up and it was breakfast. She made it through this night. I know, your mind just goes really fucking weird in these situations.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And she threw her arm out and I and because she sort of pushed the sheets off for being she's going all out, made sure she was covered up and sort of just held her and saying it's okay. And then my mum was actually in there at the time as well, and she sort of said, "Oh, is she right?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." And then I said, "No, I don't think she is." Like, fuck, you know. So mum's ran and got everyone. The sisters come running in and screaming and carrying on. And for some reason, I was like blocking her ears, you know, and just sort of holding her and just telling her it's all right. And I was telling them to just be quiet. You know, I didn't want her to freak out and fucking all this other shit. But yeah, it was just so fucking strange because here's this person, you know, that I, you know, love dearly and close to, speaking just a few days before, looking straight through me, you know, and it's just an image and the sound I can never get out of my fucking head, you know.
Yeah.
And I just held her while she's just letting those last breaths out, bro. And by the time the sister and the mum and all that come in, she was already gone. You know, I was just sort of holding her. Her eyes were wide open. She was already gone.
Yeah,
so I got my auntie to come over and hold her, but then I had to go and that's right. I had to ring a fucking partner because he was asleep in the car and said, "You need to get over." And I had to go down to my cousin Troy. He was asleep in his car in the car park, and I had to fucking just bang on the door and get him to come up. But this time she's already gone. You know, it was just a fucking whirlwind, bro. It was just. So that was my first sort of experience with fucking death right there, you know.
Yeah.
And then obviously what I had to do, well, didn't have to do, but what I chose to do was just fucking drink and take whatever I could to fucking blank my head, you know. Like I flew straight home that night. I can't even remember the flight home because I was that fucking drugged up and drunk and everything else, you know. But
just trying to self-medicate yourself type thing, like.
Yeah, that's right, man. You know, like, and I, you know, and I've struggled with that for many, many years.
Yep,
a lot. So,
and so, what you sort of, you sort of just hit a downward spiral from then, bro, or?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. You know, I just, I was taking whatever I could fucking get, you know, but to me it was all right because they were prescription drugs. You know, like I swear they're the worst, man. Prescriptions are the fucking worst, you know.
Bro.
But you know, and back then you get Masindel over the counter, man. Like I was eating a box of them easy day. I was having Therapax, Oxys, fucking Endo, just whatever I could have, you know.
Yep.
And just drinking on top of it, and then, and I was just saying to my wife just the other day too about it. You know, that maybe I was trying to hide my own fucking fear through it too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like seeing that, a reality of that death, maybe me going down that spiral was kind of trying to block myself. I was like, fuck, you know?
Yeah, from your own issues, you mean? Like,
from my own issues, you know? And then, like, so much thing comes involved is, like, survivor guilt and all that other shit because here I am young, sick, being told all this bullshit. She was a healthy person, and then she gets sick once and fucking died 6 months later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's such. There's so much. So I struggled it for years, seeing a lot of psychs, fucking all the doctors, all the bullshit. You know, diagnosed with the bipolar and fucking PTSD and all that.
Yep.
I didn't read too much into that shit, you know.
Yep.
Whatever. I didn't. You know, when you're like that, you know yourself, brother. You know, when you're like that, you can't see yourself from the outside and how much you really fuck. You know, I think you're great. Man, you know, you're killing it.
Yeah, 100%. You do, man. You don't see how fucked you are from the outside, bro. It's it's not until you get yourself back and you look back on it and it's like, holy fuck, man, what was I like?
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. And I've probably done that the last 2 years, bro, because I dig deep and done a lot of self fucking work, man. But you know, but that just sort of started a bit of a roller coaster, you know. Like
you also lost a good mate, Flock, R.I.P. Flock.
Yes, mate. Yeah, you know
all that as well, eh?
Yeah, as you know, like he was just a fucking great man. You know, to his mates, he was just like, fuck, mate, they don't make him like him, man. You know what I mean? He was like So when that sort of shit went on, Candy, he helped me a lot. You know,
Yeah.
he fucking helped me heaps. And so then even with, like, I don't know, it was just something with Flocky, man, that you felt fucking bonded to, you know?
Yep.
He was just a true man. Like,
Yep.
he was like, as in, if he fucking, so just an instance, right? So Candy, I did a fundraiser for Candy.
Yep.
To raise some money. He never knew Candy or anything like that, but he put like a dirt bike up for raffle, you know, like made $1,000 for raffle.
Yep.
Like, fuck, you know, and I'm like, no, brother.
It was just the person he was, eh?
Like, Patey. Yeah, here's the bike, fucking give it to Candy, whatever, you know. Yep. It's like that, man, like so many, then like my last surgery, I was 29, he would like so he actually went and done a fundraiser, like a raffle off for me, which I didn't know about because I don't like handouts, you know?
Yeah.
And he goes, I know you're going to fucking be shitty with me, but I got this picture. I've sold all these raffles. Here's some money, bro, for you and your family to, you know, because you have to live in Melbourne for a bit and support you a bit. And he goes, and just so happened to be I had the winning ticket. So here's your picture. You know? So the picture that he went and brought, raffled it off, raised his money, gave me and my family money to, you know, pay for accommodation, and then also gave me the picture that he won, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like he was, man. And you know how people, you know, look, and it's completely fine. And because in hard situations, a lot of people don't know what to say. And the main thing that people say, oh, if you need anything, let me know. You know what I mean? He was the kind of bloke that never said anything. He'd just turn up and go, what do you want me to do?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, so after my surgeries, bro, it was like, turn up, knock on the door, say to Kat, don't wait, Patey. But want me to do your lawns? I'll do a tip. I'm doing a tip run. I'll grab your stuff. Like, that's the Flocky and the man I fucking knew, man. And I loved, man. You know, like my brother. You know,
for sure.
He was just always there. You needed anything, he was there. And you know, and what I loved about him so much was how much he loved his children and Suze. You know, like as you know, he was a fucking doting father, man, and did everything that he could do to make sure they always had what they wanted and were happy. You know, he just lived a true fucking,
the bloke,
true,
mate,
honest.
Through my eyes, he was one of the hardest fucking men from the northern suburbs. Easy, bro. Like, but also one of the soft.
He didn't fuck around. You know?
Nah, but also one of the softest, most kind-hearted, generous fucking people I've ever met.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, that's right,
God
man.
bless
That's right. Because some people have that. Yeah, man. Like, you know, he's one person I fucking look forward to seeing again. You know what I mean? And
sure, he'd be waiting
you know,
for you
and
up
people
there,
have their. Oh, I reckon, man. He's definitely been around me a lot, I tell you. But fucking need him at some times, brother. But he was just one bloke that if he was your mate, it was like he'd fucking drop everything to make sure you was all right.
Yep.
Just whatever, you know. Just a very good, solid bloke, man. And it was a tragedy loss, and
100%.
and that was that other kick in the guts. But you know what sort of had to put the focus on was his children and his partner, Suze, and you know, it was horrible to watch them. You know, because I'm still very, very close. Well, you know, we know him as Little Man, you know what I mean? But they call him Flocky now, you know, and
bro, he's
say Little Man, but he's like 6'4", you know, like
dead spit out of his father's mouth, isn't he? Oh,
isn't he?
So bad,
blows me out, mate.
Same, bro.
And you know, and he's just had a little baby, bro.
I know, man. I know. Yeah. Congratulations, young Flock.
Blows me out. Yeah, it was like, you know, and that's what I said to him, you know, like, you got your boy now to focus on too, you know, because like he was only a child when all that happened, man. And
I remember.
It broke my fucking heart to see them going through that. And he's a very broken boy, and I love catching up with him all the time. And when it's just us, he's allowed to be that kid again, you know, and he's just such a proud dad, man. Like, it's fucking so good, you know. And Susan's such a proud nan, you know. It's like, like you can imagine how spoiled the boy will be, you know.
Oh, mate, you can imagine how
Yeah.
Flocky would be looking down on him, bro. You know, like
Mate,
you can only imagine.
Oh, mate. Yeah, and, you know, and I had those strong beliefs that, you know, he's there, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, so do I, bro. 100%. There's definitely
yeah,
yeah.
it's something else, man. Like,
I seen that you are on that Darren Petty podcast that you were on. I seen he asked you about had you ever interacted with DMT?
yeah.
So that's something that I've done, bro, in my past, and I swear to God,
Yeah.
it changed my life. I wasn't brought into a family that believed in God, or you know, we never went to church or nothing like that. You know, it was looked down on from the family I came from.
Yeah.
But mate, I did that. I did that DMT just at a time in my life when I was at rock bottom too. I was a drug addict. I was fucked, you know. But I did DMT, bro. Just thought, fucking what. I didn't want to live, bro, at that point in my life. I could have hurt trying something new. And I tell you now, that was the turning point in my life, bro. It fucking, I don't want to go into it. It's an
experience.
It's too much to put to words, but yeah, definitely opened my eyes to the afterlife and things like that, and God, mate, and God 100%. Like,
it's you know, it's like I haven't done DMT.
Yep.
I'd love to fucking do it, but obviously can't for medical reasons.
Of course, yeah.
I've had a few experiences anyway in my own sort of areas. But what I find, so I had a third open heart surgery. I got that valve replaced with another valve.
Yep.
So that was almost 9 years ago now. But only probably 3 years ago, you know, I was still fucked. You know, still always fucked. And after that surgery, then was another kick in the guts, and then took me years again, still fucking, you know, opiates a whole lot. And I just hit rock bottom. And then I started seeing a lady who was a Reiki lady, Reiki teacher and all that. I'd never tried any meditation or anything like that stuff, you know. It was just always like spending money and fucking got nothing from it.
Yeah.
So the first experience that sold me with her, Charlotte, who works, she put me onto her. Yep. And so I went out and seen her, and she was very much like, she had such a colourful background, man, you know, like she'd been in like high places, as in like almost cult sort of stuff, you know, lived the drug life and lived so many fucking lives, you know, in one.
Very spiritual by the sounds of it.
So I got and then she got sober, you know, after her spiritual journey sort of stuff.
Yep.
And that's what got her sort of sober, DMT and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'd done a lot of Reiki. I thought, I'll give it a fucking go. You know, like as you said, you're on rock bottom anyway. Give it a fuck, right?
Yep.
So gave her a go, and she first, so she was a counsellor as well, so I was speaking to her a bit, and then she said, oh, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to just talk today? And I said, oh, yeah, just chat, whatever. And she said, let's actually get you on the table, you know, and she knew a bit about Candice. And, and she'd done, like, Reiki, man, and this meditation shit where I felt like put me in this position where I could fucking talk with Candice, and, like, it just felt so fucking real, man. I'm just making it up in my head. But I got in such a deep meditative state. And this is only the start of start of that, you know. Yeah. And that's what sold me. I'm like, fuck, you know, even if it's fake, I don't give a fuck. I felt better after it. Gave a little bit of closure. So I kept going back. I used to see it twice a week. I ended up seeing it for almost 12 months, man.
Wow.
And I started getting pretty deep within Reiki and meditation a lot, bro. That's what ended up saving my fucking head. Like I would even ask people who know me. It was like it was almost like I was glowing, man. You know what I mean? I just was in peace, brother. It was fucking crazy. It was like, you know, I was listening to people like Eckhart Tolle, however you say him, and Muji, and just fucking all these spiritual leaders, and getting right in it, man. But I was just calm, and I don't know, man. It was like, but I realised how simple life was within it all, you know? Yeah. And the best thing one of the best things I heard from Alan Watts is, you know, everyone always wants to have control over something, you know, you've got to control this, control that. the best control you can have by giving it up. You know, you got to give up that control, and then you're in the ultimate control.
Yeah.
So I sort of listened to that over and over and over. I'd go to sleep with all this shit, and then I just pulled myself back from everything, man. And it was the most sort of and everything was just happening anyway.
Yeah.
The shit that I'd want to control, it was still happening. It was still working out, you know.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've heard of an experience of Satori.
I don't think
if you
I have.
Google the Satori, man, you'll see that. It's pretty much saying like your higher mind. And all I could see was like obviously driving back, and it was like everyone was like fucking autopilot, man. I was holding on to that Satori for probably about 10 minutes.
Yep.
And everything just felt fake, bro. And I was like, everything's so simple, you know? And it's like in that time of frame, I was in like everything was simple, but it was like, you know, people or your own head that makes it complicated, you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
it does, bro. It does.
And then I look back, and I haven't even had fucking DMT.
Yeah,
you know
that's
I mean?
like, that's seriously close to like, I'm shit with words, bro, but that is so close to so close to what a DMT experience is like. It's it's fucking phenomenal.
Because I had the experience of like the one consciousness, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I got into a state where I could see my own fucking source of energy, man. Like I was just a portal, more or less, right? Like just the body that was holding my fucking consciousness, man. And like started fucking getting me. Like it was working well for me, man. And I was thinking maybe it's just new meds that I'm on now and they've got me stable and all that sort of shit. But I stopped seeing it just for some reasons and whatever else. But yeah, and you know, and I've slipped back. So I've got to keep trying to, you know, try to keep above water because I found myself. Like I was so positive then, man. Everything was positive. Fucking, I was just so, I forgot what the fucking word is, man, but content, you know, I was just so content in life where since I've stopped all that, stopped meditation, stopped listening to all that, man, I'm back in the fucking jungle of it all.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and especially what some shit that's fucking happening and coming up. It's just, you know what I mean? Like it's just.
All right, brother. So, what's been happening with you over the last few years, bro?
Last few years, man. You know, I like as I was saying with that sort of stuff, I was doing really, really well, man. A piece of life, fucking enjoying life. But the last sort of 12 months, or maybe 18 months, I found myself sort of slowing down a bit, bit more shortness of breath, that kind of stuff. But I sort of ignored it a bit. So I sort of was worried about what was kind of coming up.
So you sort of
I was told that.
Yeah, you've had 9 years since your last surgery, so sort of you knew you were sort of leading into something again, like. Yeah.
Well, they said, you know, you go 15 to 20 years with the valve, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was like, oh, fucking, you know, maybe coming up to 9, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
And then so I went and seen the doctor, my specialist, and they said, look, if it was the valve, your valve's working all great, but now your heart's dying. I'm like, all right. So what does that mean? And they said, well, there's nothing else that we can do for you than what we're already doing for you. So your next destination will be a heart transplant.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, fuck, all right. So this is January this year. So I said to him, okay, so so I was told that was over the phone, just fucking the phone stuff with the medical board in Melbourne.
Yep.
Then I did see my specialist here, and I said, you know, they've said this, and he said, yeah, that's right. You know, this is going to be your next step. I said, what are you thinking? Maybe 5 years? 5 years, you know. He's like, oh, no. I said, 3. You know, 3. He goes, oh, no. It'll be like within a year or 2 max, Glenn, you know.
Yep.
Fuck's sake. So that was end of January. So, you know, I've just started fucking enjoying life, man. And, you know, my kids are at those ages. And now it's I always like to minimize shit. this I've decided I'm not going to minimise it because there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So at the moment where I'm at, the last sort of even 3 months, I found myself getting really forgetful and word finding and all that. I just thought that was my fucking brain, but side effect of the oxygen, you know, doesn't go to the brain as much. My heart's pretty much dead on the right side of the heart. So where your two hearts, you know, your two chambers, just for a quick example, that's your left. I don't know, it's going to be opposite if you're watching it, right. You know, your normal hearts will pump like that, you know, where one's pumping like that on the left side, where the right will just go barely moving, you know?
Right,
barely moving.
Makes perfect sense.
You know, and the thing is what they'd normally say is, what about, you know, do some exercise, build that muscle up. But they're like, no, because if I'm under any exercise, because we've got to have exercise tests and shit, my heart then fucking really goes to shit, you know, and struggles even more, damages it more. So, all right. So it took me a while to get my head around this, having a transplant sort of fucking stuff, you know. Like my specialist said, they don't want me to have it too soon, because pretty much when you have a transplant, you're on a ticking time. You know, you probably get, if you're lucky, you can get 15 years out of one. It just depends on your matches, you know. And he said, because I'm a young bloke, he doesn't, you know, they're just sort of holding off. But then again, you don't want to hold too long, because then you'll have complications and you won't get one. I said, all right, let's, whatever, just go with it, you know. So at the moment, I was meant to be dealing with the Royal Melbourne with my case, and I was meant to be having tests there, and then they'd pronounce me to the Alfred and see what they thought, whether they should see me about having a heart transplant. I hope this kind of makes sense. So I was waiting on appointments from the Royal Melbourne to have these tests done to see how bad the heart is and how quick I'd need to go on the transplant list. But somehow that's all been skipped now, and I've gone straight to the Alfred, and they've like said, this is probably 7 weeks ago now, spoke with them, and they said, no, we want you here within 6 weeks to have all these tests. And then at the end of those tests, the transplant team will get together, study your case, decide on whether, you know, if I can receive a transplant or if I'm denied, you know. Because, like, that's what I mean. Like, now it's sort of a bit in the brain, like, fuck, you know, there's a good possibility I won't get a heart as well. You know, I could be denied. Cause
bro.
So with the week, so I actually go on Sunday. Fucking whatever, I think it's the 23rd. I've got a week admission at the Alfred, so from Monday to the Friday. And they're just full on tests from 8 o'clock in the morning. So they're down to doing respiratory sort of tests, exercise, fucking treadmill, echoes, right side heart cath study. So they just run like an ablation, sort of run the catheter up in the heart and check all your pressure tests. Multiple fucking, I don't know, man. There's just a list, you know, of all these tests you've got to have. So it's starting to feel a lot more real now. Then they did say I possibly could find out that Friday if that's everything they need, and they might have enough information to be, I forgot whether it was a recipient, like approved, you know, I'll say that way, approved for a new heart. Or denied, you know, or denied. If they then, accept that I can, you know, approve for a new heart, and they want to list me with them that Friday, then it's just a waiting game from there. So basically you can get a phone call within that 24 hours or fucking 6 months down the track, you know what I mean? It's so it's a very mind fuck kind of game, because what they do these days, which is really great, you know, they make sure that heart that they receive is going to be as good as match as possible for that person. So whether you're like first in line and you're very, very sick. But if a heart comes up and it's a perfect match for, say, hench in line, they'll get that heart, you know, right. Just because they're going to get a lot better outcome with that.
Yeah, of course.
And that's where people then can live on for 15, 20, maybe 30 years.
Yeah.
What ends up sort of getting you in the end of that, it's not the heart itself, it's not only the medication.
Yep.
Because you're on so much medication. And then it puts you in, you know, kidney failure and develops kidney cancer and skin cancer, the whole lot. This is so much like, even so, you know, to be honest, like if I didn't have my children, I don't think I'd go through all that.
Yeah.
And that's not being a bitch way out, and some people fucking whatever, but it's like it's been a whole life battle, right, of trying to survive as it fucking is. And you almost start playing mind games with yourself, like, am I not valuable enough to fucking live here as the next person? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, bro.
Like, why the fuck do I have to go through all this? Like, why don't I just deserve to live this life, smooth life, you know?
Yeah.
So you almost start feeling like you're in a house that you're not welcome in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like,
no, that makes
this
sense,
is just
bro.
like, little example of mind games, you know? And I've always gone off to, but, you know, this guy's got it worse, this guy's got I've got to fucking not do that, because I've always done it.
Yep.
And I've got to start getting a bit more real with myself, because if I get a heart, it's going to be a lot in the recovery.
Yeah.
And I can't go backwards in my head and fuck it all up, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'll have to live in Melbourne for at least 6 months.
Yep.
You know, so basically how it would go, you get a call at any time. There's a heart coming, you know, you get to the airport, they fly you to Melbourne, and the ambulance picks you up, take you straight to the Alfred, straight in the operation room, cut you open.
Yep.
So then, you know, hopefully my wife will be able to come with me on that flight. My parents then will get my kids to get the first flight out of there, you know.
Yep.
So then they'll have to look for accommodation. Well, they'll obviously wait if I get through it, you know. But then, you know, there's so much more involved. Like, then they're going to have to find accommodation close by to the hospital, because I'll have to be there for at least that 6 months. Because, like, man, look, I'm on a page, you know, of transplants, people from around the world, and you can go a good 12 months and then you start having hiccups and all that after 2 years or 3 years. It's a forever thing. Like,
bro.
Obviously, I'm still a bit new to it still, you know, and the stuff I already know about, it's like, fuck, there's so much involved, you know, pre and post surgery. It's going through it all again, you know, it'll be the fourth crack at going through all them motions again, and not knowing if it's, you know, get out of the hospital and 12 weeks or 18 weeks down the track, I've set right back again and the heart's failing on me, and, you know, all that sort of shit, because you got to have biopsies for the first few months quite regularly. I think you end up having like 33 biopsies of the heart in that 12 months. So they run the catheter down the neck, take a snippet of the heart, test it, you know, and they play around with the meds. You know, and a lot of the meds have bad side effects. And, you know, you got I can't pronounce it probably, but prolitinol or something, like the steroid to suppress your immune system. So then your body doesn't try and fucking inject the heart. So you could be on that for 6 months, or you could be on that for the rest of your life. It all just depends how good your body accepts that heart.
Yeah.
And then they then obviously worry with me, because they've already asked for my my mental health report, you know.
Yep.
So they've got to check all that. It's not just like go in, do a few tests and get all right. Like, they want to check your past. And I've done some fuck shit in the past. Like, you know, not to go in detail, whatever, but few really good charges or whatnot. And just bit off the fucking road, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping not much of that's written in it, you know, but I might go fuck. But it's which is good. Look, I agree with it, because I don't. it's a very precious thing, you know, by giving someone a heart, right?
Fucking oath.
So it's got to be to someone who really fucking needs it and who will look after it and accept it, you know.
Yep.
Now, my thing is, I've always said I'll never have one. I'll never have a transplant, whatever, you know. I sort of get funny with that survival guilt shit again because it's also someone's life ending and then mine beginning again, you know. It's a lot to fucking fathom. A lot of people say, oh, but they're going to pass anyway. But still, man, it's fucking, you know, it's sad, bro. It's sad that someone loses their life and then, you know, but then it's, you know, it's glorious as well, you know,
it is,
that,
bro,
that fucking another life starts, you know, and it's fucking amazing, man.
But and I suppose,
it's a lot to take in that side.
Yeah, I suppose, like, at the end of the day, like you said, the person who's obviously the heart's coming from, their life's obviously coming to an end. But yeah, yours is, I suppose at the end of the day, you've just got to think of your kids, eh? You know, it's all for them, bro.
It is, man. Yeah, it is, 100%. And that's my drive. You know what I mean? It's like, man, like, fuck. You know, my daughter's just turned 18, right? And it's like, but it's, when I was young, I never expected to have kids, to see my kids grow up. You know? And now it almost becomes a possibility of like, fuck, you know, to see them all grow up and have families and married and shit. That shit blows my mind because I've never let that idea into my head in the past, you know.
It's all
because I'd never set it up for disappointment. So now it kind of creeps in. The more I adjust with it, and you know, and if I do get a heart, and I will make sure that I fucking treat it like it's gold. You know what I mean? Just for the person who passed away for a start, but the gift that then it gives me. To possibly be a fucking grandfather or, you know, watch my kids grow older, man. If I can get to fucking say 55, like that to me is like old, you know, like it's like, I can never in my mind would I have thought that. I never ever would have thought I got to 30, you know, and it's like something just keeps stepping up. But also, like, you know, obviously my wife and my mum and all that like to be positive and this and that, and my dad doesn't like to talk much about it at all. It just fucks with him, you know, and I understand that. But I don't like to say too much for the future because I don't want to set myself up or them for disappointment either. I keep it pretty fucking real, you know.
100%.
Like, this is what's happening in this gap. All I know at the moment, I'm going to Melbourne, have these tests done, then they'll be able to tell me some more info. Obviously, my head goes to fucking funerals and all this other shit, you know.
Of course,
silently, I torture myself a lot, you know. It doesn't stop in the head, and I've got to try and watch that because I'd normally self-medicate myself with pills and alcohol. Well, at the moment, I can only have like 1 litre of liquid a day. I'm under restrictions, you know. I have like 2 or 3 beers, you know, and that's for a 24-hour period. So I can't escape that way, you know. I sort of have to, I guess, fucking
just wear it, like, and
do it.
Naturally,
wear it, wear it. That's right, you know. And I've never really had to deal with shit like that, just sober and whatever else. And you know, so I have found myself a little bit more trying to speak a bit more openly about it and more in a serious note. I still really, really struggle and get uncomfortable with being too serious on it because I don't, you know, there's a lot that comes from it, brother. You know, when you're born with it, there's heaps of shit. Like, you also have a burden. You feel like you're being a burden. You know, like, even though that's not the case, it still runs through your head. Like, fuck, you know, my parents growing up had to miss this and that. You know, it's not just me that has to go through this. It's my whole family and friends or whatever, you know. It's not just me. Like, my side, in one way, is easy. It's I just fucking lay there and recover, you know. But, you know, it's a saying, too, that I think, you know, is very true, that you can have a lot of people around you while you're going through very, very sick or whatever, while you're the one laying in bed, you know. But at the end of it all, you're the one who's fucking got to die alone, you know.
Yeah.
Like, they can only go so far with you.
Yeah.
And I find that it's like really fucking, it's really strong sort of saying that. But and also too, I've really always believed that sometimes harder for the people outside of the bed than it is the one inside in the bed, you know.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't handle seeing like my children or even Katrina, like my wife, you know, be in that situation, you know. But yet, and that's how I started to try and break myself down a lot by acknowledging what I've gone through as another person.
Yeah, yeah.
I learned that through this meditation. How she helped me.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, there's so many poor sick kids at Royal Melbourne. It's heartbreaking. Rah, rah, rah. And she was like, oh, but you was one of them. I said, oh, nah, but, you know, they were this and that, you know. And she goes, why are you discrediting your fucking self? And I noticed I've done that my whole life, pushed my feelings aside and my whatever aside because, I don't know, because I don't want that pity and all the other stuff. But if I really break it down and go, fuck, if this person was going through that, you know, I'd go, oh, poor little fella. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure,
like,
yeah.
I've got to view myself and my health and everything I've gone through from a different perspective. If I see it as me, I don't care as much about it, you know.
Yep.
I like fucking, you know, deal with it, basically, you know.
Yep.
Where if I view it as like some other kid who's gone through that shit, I think, oh, fuck it. You know, it's pretty heavy shit.
You're an absolute
fuck. You know,
brother, you're an absolute fucking inspiration, man. Like, not just to me, but to so many people. And like, fuck, if I can do if I can do one small thing like this and give you a platform to tell your story, bro, that's, you know, I'm stoked. But yeah, man,
cheers, brother. Cheers, man. You know,
I love you, bro.
I value
I love you.
friends and family, mate. Love you too, brother.
Fucking
I've got like the same thing, you know. Value life and friends and family close, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
We, as you know, it goes very fast, man, and you can lose someone very quick.
Yeah,
but,
definitely, bro.
You know, it's a life.
If there's someone out there, bro, that's suffering the same or a similar sort of condition to yourself, you know, suffering a future with a terminal heart condition, bro, what's some advice that you could give to them?
Advice? You know, I guess the cliche fucking one is, live every day, you know, live every day like it's your last, make the most out of it sort of shit. But it's hard to do that, you know. I take days for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's human to take days for granted.
You're
but if
human,
someone
bro.
sets themselves up, you're human, you know, and you set yourself up being like, oh, you know, I fucking got to live each day and set yourself up to failure, and then you get fucking shitty with yourself, you know. But everyone is different, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone needs different advice, I guess, depending on where they are in life.
Yep.
But I'd say it to near anyone anyway in life is just try and fucking sit with yourself and think, what do you want out of life? Like, what do you want, you know? Because I've done that, you know, and everything that I wanted, I fucking went for it and I got it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, I'd say to them, my biggest thing would say, if you're in a situation that you're looking at some, you know, terminal illness or you need surgery to keep you going, it's just putting your faith in the fucking surgeons, man, you know, like letting go of those worries, giving it to, if you believe in God or not, you know, it doesn't matter. At least just put that all on the surgeons, man, you know. It's the doctors and the surgeon's job to keep you going, you know. So with that, do what you can manage, accept it. I think the best thing is accepting whatever comes at you and then just putting everything aside for them to take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably what advice I'd be.
Beautiful,
be to give.
brother.
I don't know if it's good advice, I don't really know, but